It is HPR and All Things Considered. I'm Dave Lawrence, and we are having a fun little chat here. This is a cat that we had on. It was this same month last year, right, that you were here doing this, and he's back. It's a guy who has been a fixture in the Hawaii music scene for many, many decades. The late, great Tom Moffat used to say, it's one of Hawaii's favorite bands, and he would be talking about Tower of Power, and its band leader, sax player, Emilio Castillo. He's joining us here at the Blue Note at the start of their run that they've got of dates. Welcome back. Great to see you again.
Thanks, Dave. Good to be back. I miss Tom Moffat.
I bet you do. When I mentioned his name, I saw you smile big time. What's the first thing that came to mind?
I was just thinking today, I was telling I just got married, and we were out there in the water, her and I was looking at, she's new to Hawaii, I go, that's Diamond Head right there. And I said, yeah, I used to play at the Crater, and Tom Moffat with all those shows. Bill Graham would be in the background, and just a lot of great memories, man. He was just a great host.
And that's another thing about you. You just kind of mentioned you're merged with more than just Hawaii memories. You were actually heavily connected to Bill Graham. I was telling Kristen, who works at the Blue Note, you could basically just do Emilio interviews about Bill Graham for the rest of his life. True?
Yeah, I got a lot of stories about Bill, for sure. I remember the first time I went to the Fillmore West to go see Chicago. We just got signed to the Fillmore people, and they said, we want you to come and see this band. And we knew about CTA, and we wanted to go see them. But it was a big line, and we didn't know, we were with the Fillmore people, so do we just go to the front or, but we didn't know what to do. We were all embarrassed, he was kind of shy, and then we thought, well, it's a big line, so we thought, well, let's go up and ask, We start going up in front, we get to the stairs, and here comes Bill with this guy, and he throws him down the stairs. He goes, get out, and don't come back ever, we're like, and we didn't even go in and see Chicago. We just split. We were so afraid.
That's your first encounter with?
Yeah, this is our new manager.
I love it. That's what I mean. This guy, he can just roll off the crazy stories. And that's because of that kind of, that's a kind of representation of the way that you guys have been embedded in a lot of different cultural things. And before we started the interview, you just rattled off another one. You're doing a new TV theme. To give a little prop for that. Yeah,
Entertainment Tonight, ba-da-da-da-da-da. Now we kind of funked it up a little bit. Our horn section just did the new theme for Entertainment Tonight. And it's the same theme, but there's kind of like ba-da-da-da-da-da, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, these little extra accents.
Kind of like how with the James Bond theme, they reinvent it and kind of spruce it up.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of wish they would have reinvented it a little bit more, but we were just elated that they asked us to do it.
What a cool thing. Yeah, that's a huge perk. And that's a song, like you just said, everybody kind of knows that little riff.
Yeah, we also did a recording with this guy, Jacob Collier. Really hot. And he's being mentored by Quincy Jones, and we were playing the Royal Albert Hall in the UK. It was a huge gig, playing with Incognito, and man, it sold out. Just great show. And we had one day. We're supposed to travel on that day. I think we were going to Germany, and he's like, but well, we'd like you to come in and record, and I wrote this song. Everything was last minute, But it was like 2 days before we get this, this chord sheet and these lyrics and these ideas and little snippets that he put on his phone. He's sending all this stuff to me. He goes, yeah, no, this is going to happen. We're like, okay. And so we took the bus. Instead of getting on the bus going to Germany, we got on the bus, went to Air Studios, George Martin's place, and beautiful studio. We get in there, and we recorded all day, then got on the bus and went to Germany. And just great. He wrote this song, kind of almost like a Tower of Power tribute. And he used the whole band, and really good. We actually haven't heard the finished product yet.
And when is that? What's for folks listening, when can they keep an eye out on that?
I think that's coming out in 2020 early. He was supposed to be doing 4 releases in 1 year, and he had already done 2. He was working on the 3rd, and he wanted us to be on the 4th. And so I think it's coming out later this year or early 2020, but I'm not sure.
A lot of people have wanted you to be on their record. The phrase you just said is really interesting, what you said. He wanted you to be on that record. The TOP horns have been on so many songs and albums. If you go to Tower Power's website, they have one of your fans or somebody put together a lot of hard work, a lot of elbow grease went into listing that out. You know what I'm talking about.
The discography of all the sessions we've done. Yeah, that guy. That's a guy named Jack over in Massachusetts, and he just lives to document that stuff. He's always bugging me, man. You guys did a session recently, and who were the guys on it? And I found this record, and it says Tower of Power Horns, but it doesn't sound like it's all of you. Who could it be? And,
Right. Well, that's a good. You pointed out another thing. He puts the notes of who's on it because it's not always the whole section. So it's really meticulously noted in terms of the personnel and their contribution to the albums. I just wanted to throw some of those names at you because we've never, in all the times we've talked about so many different things, but never that. And I was startled when I looked at it. I was Emilio. It was, so take me back to here's one. And if you don't have a story, I can barely remember it or whatever. But knowing you, I doubt that'll be the case. Kantner, Slick, Sunfighter, and this is Paul Kantner, Grace Slick, long time ago. This is right at the very start of the list, practically.
I have no memory of that.
So I figured.
I remember doing Starship. I played on Jane, actually, just me and my partner Doc on the baritone sax, and Mick Gillette played trombone. We played these low notes in the bridge. Really cool song.
Yeah, great song. Huge hit.
Yeah, big hit. Yeah, Jane.
Well, fun, cool. Fun. Any memories? I guess it would be the same, so that helps with the same kind of question. Any cool Grace Slick story of getting to work? Was she there, or did you record separately? Because that oftentimes you guys just record separately.
She wasn't even there. I knew the producer really well. What's his name? Ron Nevison. Right, okay. And a great guy. And he just called us in. He said, I think you have to beef up this bridge section. And we said, well, are there any parts? He goes, no. I guess you can figure it out. And it was just like, bomb, 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 bomb. Yeah, we can figure that out.
Was it Santana's Everybody's Everything?
Yeah, that was the second session we ever did. Okay. The first one was Nick Gravenites, who sang for Big Brother and the Holding Company. He called us up in the middle of the night. He says, hey, we're over here at Wally Hyder's, and we got this song named Funky Jim, and we think it'd be great with your horns on it. You guys want to come and throw some horn parts? We're like, yeah. So we drove over there. We put on these parts real quick, really easy, made up the parts, and we're walking out, and he gives us some money. We're like, what's this for? And he goes, just for coming down. We're like, wow, thanks. We thought it was just fun, and then it wasn't even a month later, I would get a call again in the middle of the night. Carlos Santana, hey, we're over here at Columbia Studios, and we got this song, Everybody's Everything. We think it'd be great if you put some horns on it, So he might have heard about it from Nick Gravenites. I don't know. But anyway, we drove over there, and, really easy, We put it on literally within 1 week. It was on the radio. It was a smash hit, and they're going, "That's Carlos. That's Santana with the Tower of Power Horns." And we're like, "Wow, man!" And it was the same thing when we finished the session. He gave us money, and we're like, "Oh, thanks," And then we started realizing, we might have a little side gig here for the rest of our lives.
So you began to turn it into that, I'm assuming, right? You didn't always possibly.
We did a couple more sessions, and then our manager at the time said, we should make a booklet, send it out to every producer, every artist, every booking agent, every manager, and we did. And we had a really nice colored booklet with our own logo, a horn logo, and we had a quote from Elton John. The quote was from Cream magazine, and it said, they not only play great, they look great as well.
So it was kind of like to sell you guys as a product for people to use.
Yeah, Elton was very
complimentary. And Elton is all over this thing. 3, 4, how many different times?
What do you mean?
There's Elton on that list that guy put together, the Massachusetts guy. Elton's name is on there a lot.
The only real session we did for Elton, though, that I remember, we recorded like 3 or 4 days, was Caribou, the album. Yeah. Played on the Bitch's Back and a song called Stinker. We did a bunch of songs on that record. Not all of them were used on the record, but we recorded for 3 days. Gus Dudgeon was there. Elton wasn't there. But Elton showed up a short time later. We were doing this big tour for Warner Brothers called the Warner Brothers Music Show, and we were in London at the Rainbow Theatre, and he came to see us, and that's when shortly after the record came out, he did that quote in Cream magazine about us, and he showed up real nice, and very supportive and a lot of fun. We were and also Keith Richards was there, and a lot of famous people were showing up because we were there with Little Feat and the Doobie Brothers and Graham Central Station and Montrose, and it was a 6-band tour, 42 cities of Europe.
And some of these cats would just keep factoring in. You just mentioned the Montrose. You were doing this with Sammy as well.
Yeah, and we've recorded with Sammy actually a couple of times.
Right.
We did a record. We also did a live King Biscuit Flower Hour with him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and for a while we had recently we had the same manager, Tom Consolo, and Sammy's a good friend. Yeah.
Is that sort of management, is that kind of another way that this comes both through the recommendation of artists saying, hey, maybe consider using the TOP horns, or maybe it's managers or other professionals you have in common?
Well, it happens all different kinds of ways, but generally it's the artist or the producer. I can't remember a manager really. I guess a few times that might have happened, but in that particular instance, it was Sammy. He wanted it. He did a thing, and also Journey. They did a King Biscuit Flower Hour, and they did a whole bunch of soul tunes.
It was Journey and Friends, is that the thing?
Maybe it was. I don't remember what it's called, but I just remember doing it at the record plant in Sausalito, and they did all these soul tunes like "Knock on Wood," and we went in and we played them all with them live on the radio.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was recorded.
Billy Preston.
Oh man, Billy Preston was so awesome, and I've had a few occasions with him on his recording. I remember we went in to do his recording, and David Foster was producing, and he was amazing, And Billy Preston, at one point we were sort of standing there. We weren't playing; it was between takes, and I'm hearing this amazing piano. I look over, and he's in the room. He's playing just extemporaneously, and just great, And then years later, 45 years later, I'm doing a session in Phoenix, my new hometown at that point, for the Phoenix Suns, and they're doing Soul Man, that song by Sam and Dave, because it was a session for Sam Moore, from Sam and Dave, and they're doing a commercial for the Phoenix Suns. So it was, instead of "I'm a soul man," it was "I'm a Suns fan," And I remember Billy Preston was the producer, and they had a bunch of guys from town, from another sort of Tower of Power wannabe band. And some of the guys they were playing, like they had a baritone sax player, but he was playing way in the top register, and they had a trombone player, and he was and I looked at it, I go, wait a minute, I go, you guys should play it down an octave, And they go, but it's written. I go, I don't care where it's written. Take everything down an octave, And they go, And so I go, now play it again. And they go, And Billy Preston presses the chalk, but he goes, do whatever he says.
What a great memory. Huge amount of sessions, too, that you've done. As we wrap it up, is there a favorite that you hold as you've told some funny ones, but is there one that maybe touches you that you're glad, or on a professional level? Again, when you have the volume of them that the TOP horns have done, it's understandable that there may not be one. But if there is just something that I didn't touch on that is a little bit more significant to you.
Well, there's a lot of great ones, so I can't say this is my favorite, but
Sure.
it was a great session, and we did it at George Lucas Studio up in the Bay, and it was another Sam and Dave song. It was "When Something's Wrong with My Baby," and it was Linda Ronstadt and Aaron Neville, and they got the Grammy for that, and that was a really classy session. I remember George Massenberg was the engineer, and Linda Ronstadt was great. Although we did have a little scene happen. My arranger, Greg Adams, who was the trumpet player at the time, they were very specific. They didn't want any smoking. Linda just hated smoking, pot or cigarettes. She didn't want any kind of smoke, on the premises. And we did such a great job in the session. I guess he felt like, it was okay to fire up. And she got really uptight for about 30 seconds, and he put it out, and that was it. But
Is that herb?
I'm sorry?
Firing up herb or cigarette?
No, a cigarette.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe she would have been.
Wasn't that stupid?
And that's what comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, the session was just so classy. It really came out good. And then, like I say, they did get the Grammy.
It's a great note to leave it on. It's a wonderful career. Looking forward to this run of dates. You're back. One of Hawaii's favorite bands, as the late great Tom Moffat always said, and it's a good thing to keep alive in honor of Tom. And here at the Blue Note for the weekend. Thanks for being back on All Things Considered with me, Emilio. Really do appreciate it, and looking forward for a weekend of Tower of Power.
Thanks, Dave. Every time. Great.
Thank you, brother.
Aloha! This is Emilio Castillo from Tower of Power, and I'll tell you what's hip. making a big fat pledge to HPR right now. You know why? Let me tell you. I'm proud to say I've been a guest right here with my dear friend Dave Lawrence. Oh, you heard me on All Things Considered. Well, did you also hear this is a non-profit radio station that depends on members? That's right, my friends. So pony up. Just make a pledge you can afford, and it's done. But do it now. It's a 2-minute project. And from Tower of Power, we say thanks. What is hip? Pledge now.